Okay, good night, everybody. So, so this painting is currently done. I mean, with the caveats that I will explain in a moment. But I mean, I finished like the both like the base acrylic layer and the extra oil layer, and I think it looks okay. It's not perfect, but I'm fine with that. Should mention that this not a regular canvas, but it's kind of like mostly all of my paintings, almost all of it is done, but by on canvas that I buy, like it's a medium quality that I stretch over frames, or I buy sometimes earlier. I bought it with frames, but there are several exceptions. This is one of that. It's made of actually like a sheet that I bought, like not a real canvas, but a sheet made of cotton that I bought specifically bought and tailored on a specific like a homemade frame, and it got also for weird properties, and so it got limitations, and anyway, that's the way it is, and I'm fine with that. It's highly symbolic, of course, as many of my paintings, and maybe I should explain what we actually see here if you didn't understand it already, or you didn't catch the previous explanation. I'll tell you what we see here actually, and after that I'll continue with my paintings, and maybe I'll speak a little bit about energy. Even though I spoke about it a little bit today, not to the record as they say, but people, they bug me anyway. Should be mentioned that we still need to continue with these two paintings. These two, one should contain we see eggs. Eggs and nest of the super wasp, the Full Metal Jacket. And another one with they depicted an adult specimen, and we also need to fix the pupa here. So, so the question is, what we actually see here, and what's the caveat? So, here's the thing. First of all, what we see here can be interpreted in several ways, and sometimes it does, but the straightforward interpretation is the two main objects are a symbolic representation of the plutonium atom and the uranium atom, and on the top we have the curium atom, numbers number 22, 24, and 26 respectively. No, 20, uranium 22, plutonium 24, and curium 26. Now we see that they are light over dark, which means this is the positive. Light over dark is the positive direction of representation, which means create it, and the other way is destroy it. Or it can mean other things, but usually it doesn't require much explanation. It makes sense. What's positive and what's negative. Positive is make things larger, and negative is make it smaller. Or positive is when things exist, and negative is when they do not exist. Now, usually symbols they appear in duo, in two, at least in two symbols. In this symbolic language, almost always symbols, mostly they appear in pairs, or sometimes three. Now, when it's pair, they're not identical. They shouldn't be identical. they should be very similar but a little bit changed, like with some changes. In order, I mean, and these have several explanations why, and I spoke about it in the past. There are several explanations for this, actually. First, I mean, they shouldn't be identical because, I mean, it should be, I mean, implied that you actually. So first, why not use one symbol? So the reason is that it might be like accidental, like it might be just with accidentally and like without like, I mean, like so too much thought and so I mean more than, I mean, and if it's true, I mean it's much like, I mean, more probable that it's not accidental. And if it's not, if it's two that are similar but not identical, it also increases the probability that this is actually not accidental. Because if they're identical, it might be like, you know, assembly line that, I mean, creates things, but I mean, but if they are similar but not identical, it probably means that you actually intended to put it there. And also another explanation why you need two is that, I mean, that, I mean, when you actually create it, I mean, or like sometimes the construction process itself, this is not only relevant just for paintings, it's also true for like 3D representations that are also very common in symbolic language, also in my art and science, like, I mean, it's like electricity and fire and everything that you see, it's all part of a symbolic language. So, I mean, because, I mean, the way that you actually construct or draw the symbols, I mean, two are like better than one, much better than one. And, I mean, and what happens is that the Neros, they try to generalize, I mean, like, what's the common, like, I mean, denominator between the two symbols. And that way, I mean, they can actually differentiate between what's important and what's not important. I've said it in the past that, I mean, like, I mean, in the Nero language, I mean, like, I mean, probably a very simple and yet pretty good, like, symbol of human, like man, is, it might sound like, I mean, funny, but I mean, the poster, the promotional poster for the original lethal weapon, like, it's kind of because, I mean, you have like a black man and a white man, and one with mustache and one without mustache, and one is a little bit older and one is a bit younger. Then, I mean, this actually allows the Neros, supposedly they don't know what's humans, I mean, to not only like understand, like, I mean, to get a lot of information regarding what's human, but also to generalize, like, I mean, what's important and not for future identification. For example, maybe, I mean, they will see like a man with a beard, I mean, so they like you know, like, I mean, you know, like no, like hair, all sorts of like hair, like, I mean, face hair, facial hair, not only mustache, but I mean, they can understand that this is, I mean, it's still human, like, it's still man, like, because, I mean, the two symbols, one had like mustache and one didn't, so, I mean, this means that facial hair can be, I mean, something that, I mean, men have, and maybe they don't have it. So, I mean, it doesn't, like, I mean, make them, like, I mean, in the symbolic language, less or more of a man if they do or do not have, like, facial hair. And, of course, it's true for colors. I mean, okay, so if one is black and one is white, I mean, so maybe if they see, like, a yellow one or a red one, they see, okay, I mean, it's still, like, men, because, I mean, so, of course, I mean, you can also ask, I mean, but you can say, I mean, that nothing, I mean, no characteristic is, like, I mean, you can say, I mean, yeah, but nothing is actually, like, I mean, represented like humans. I mean, so it's the question that I started to speak earlier today. What is human? That's, I mean, I just say that in symbolic language, I mean, it's not a robotic language, even though, I mean, you think that of them as robots, and maybe you think it's meant as robots, but the symbolic language is just, I mean, as any symbolic language of humans, that, I mean, it's flexible and it changes, I mean, with context, and it changes over time, and it changes, I mean, with experience. So, and you cannot capture reality completely with any symbolic language. This is true for this language and for Neros. You cannot hope to capture like every aspect of reality or every occurrence, like abstract or material, with this language. But, I mean, it's enough to actually allow communication. And yes, communication is something that takes place between me and them. I mean, explicitly, I mean, in the last 20 months, slowly, but even before that, and I'll speak about it later, it's happened without my knowledge, and I'll speak about it a little later. So, sometimes you want three, actually, symbols. This is true mainly when you want to create, when the construction, I mean, is like an order or like a request to create something, and you want the Neros to create it. Indefinitely, not just one or two or three. Just keep creating them until whatever. So then you need at least three to signify that don't create like one, but create three, like just in an assembly line. Now you can also tell them to create like specific number. But when you have three like that are a little different, that means that just fill the earth with those until like specified otherwise. And of course, they cannot do it without they cannot do it. The symbolic. It's not like magic. It's just the symbolic component is enough. They also need energy and matter in order to do anything, and I will explain later what energy and matter are actually needed for this specific construction. This will be part of the next, the utility, the fourth chapter of the utility, the saga that I promised so long that I will record but I always postponed it because people are, there are so much violence around me and so much threats to my life, and I need to so much time is wasted just for me trying to protect myself, and this is hell. I live in hell. I live in hell. I need to be rescued from this Nazi prison, me and my daughters. So much violence around me and threats. And anyway, if I manage to actually record the fourth chapter of the utility saga, I will also explain what energy and matter are needed for this kind of command, because a command that does, it's not enough to give it an order or a request. You need to supply the Neros with energy and matter, and you can see it in all of my construction and all of my experiments. But we'll speak about it a little later. So, what we ask the Neros here is to create atoms. So there are two questions. First, what exactly atoms, and second, where? Where? So the answer to what exactly means that radioactive ones, because this is the common denominator of these three, and not specifically one. Create radioactive one. Might be plutonium, might be uranium, might be curium, might be all of these, might be others from the radioactive row. Now the question of where. So now let's speak about very interesting about the second important element, symbolic element, which is the depiction of the solar system. Obviously, every child can see that this is a depiction of the solar system, but with all sorts of curiosities. Now, this repeats actually a lot in many of my paintings. Throughout the last 20 months, and certainly in the last 16 months, many of my paintings, either contain this kind of drawing or similar one on the painting itself, or on the other side of the canvas, in these two, for example. It's on the other side. You have this kind of drawing, with all sorts of with different changes. There is all sorts of peculiarities that but it looks very similar because it's basically the solar system, which is easy to recognize. But there are all sorts of this is highly symbolic. Yet it's highly symbolic, yet yet very recognizable. Everyone can understand very well that this is the solar system. Now, this drawing is this symbol is needed for two reasons, and it serves dual purpose here in this context. The first purpose is to signify where exactly do we want to create these atoms. And of course, you see that only the Earth is painted with colors besides the sun, and So you can ask, I mean, so what? So will they create it inside the sun? So the first question that you need to ask is, are there even neos? I mean, they do not create things if they do not exist in any given place. It should be said. I mean, so the question is, but do they exist in the sun? Inside the sun? Or on the sun? So the answer is yes, they do. But they will not create it on the sun because it doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to create it on the sun or in the sun. For all sort of reasons, it just doesn't make sense, and they will not do some things that doesn't make sense. It does make sense to do it on Earth and or like in the Earth, and that's what they will do. And another thing that we have here is the depiction of the bicycle mechanism. It's another symbol, like, or set of symbols that is painted on top of the drawing of the solar system. Because I mean, because it's like directly related to the solar system. Like, I'll speak about it maybe in the next video, like the fourth chapter of the Utility Saga, but I spoke about it a lot in the past, and most certainly I spoke about it quite a bit in what I call the Bicycle Saga, which is a long series of videos about the changes in the bicycle mechanism that occurred in the past. That my predecessors, and specifically the predecessor that, I mean, from the 1980s, created a change in the bicycle mechanism, and I explained what changed and how it affected reality, and how it actually created a new kind of reality and a new kind of torture that is I mean, aimed specifically towards me. But of course, he didn't want to hear it like me, I mean, or any future, I mean, it happened before I was born, but I mean, a little bit before I was born, actually. I was born in 1984, it happened in the early 80s. But I mean, any change of the bicycle mechanism can be very, I mean, problematic. In any case, without too much elaboration, I would say that this is kind of like a change in the bicycle mechanism that mostly is aimed, like, it for several reasons, but mostly to make my life a little bit easier, because I'm too much suffering. I suffer too much because of this and this mechanism, and I want my life to be easier. But it's not the only reason. There are other reasons. It should be mentioned. It should be said that the atomic representation are also like something that I mean, a symbolic construction that was done in the past by my predecessor during the 1980s, but with the other way around. It was that time it was dark over white, over like bright, with the purpose of deleting these things from the earth. And so why did he delete it? You could argue because, I mean, because they didn't want people to have atomic weapons. So, but no, that's not the correct answer. I mean, the right time to do such a thing would have been, I guess, the 1940s. I mean, and there were actually already messengers by the cherubs in the 1940s and the 1930s. So, I mean, and there was already a spaceship. It was actually when the first spaceship around the time that the first cherub spaceship arrived, close to Earth, and it's still here. It's still in the same place since then. So actually, there was both a spaceship with, highly energetic ability, energizing ability, and also a messenger during the time in Israel. But if it was important, to eliminate the possibility of atomic weapons from humans, I guess that would have been a good time to do it during the 30s or the 40s, and they didn't do it. So, no, it's not exactly. It wasn't exactly the reason why. It was done. There is a different reason, and I'll speak about it. Hopefully, I'll speak about it in the utility, the fourth chapter of the Utility Saga. And there's also the question of like, why do I now bring it back? I mean, do I like? I mean, is it like a gift for mankind because humankind because they treat me so well? No, I hate them. I hate all of you. You are all scum of the earth, and I wish you all the worst. I need to be rescued from this hell. Of course, I do not want anything good to happen to you, but as you know, atomic weapons, I mean, are not always like a very good thing. So anyway, but this is not all. But this is not the reason why I created. Like in order for you to create more atomic bombs, so you will kill each other. No, not exactly. So why do you do it? I'll speak about it in the next chapter. It just should be said that this is kind of like a reverse of like the other command, and the bicycle mechanism, it was changed several times. Now it should be. I said it. I mean, earlier I've said it. I mean that this is like a final form of the painting, but with a caveat. So what exactly is the caveat? So the caveat is the following: any symbolic construction for the Neros requires some kind of like like a timer, or like a signifier that says when it's applied, like when it should actually be applied. And generally, the way to do it, like the way to actually do it, like to create such a mechanism is by movement of particles inside the construction. So what can be accounted as movement? Well, first of all, all sorts of things can move. Like even things that you didn't think about. Like for example, electrons can move. That's why many constructions are actually connected to electricity. And actually, lately, in the last 2 months or so, not many. I didn't make. I did have a little bit of those, like with electrolysis, but not many. But previously in like starting February until maybe this June, for 4 months, it was major things that I've done, like many experiments with electricity and symbolic construction with electricity. So then, in that case, it's pretty obvious when the construction is the symbol is applicable, and this is when it's connected to electricity and electrons are moving like inside. Like doesn't matter if it's like the DC or AC. Either way, particles are moving, and like as part of the construction. And with fire, it's also, of course, with all the crucible experiments that we are doing lately. So of course, some things are moving, because the fire itself, creates out of mechanical energy that moves stuff around. And when it's no longer burning, there is no more movements, and it's not applied. The symbol stops to be applicable. Not immediately actually. Actually, it takes some time because it's still hot and there is still movement. But so for any part of the symbolic language, you can kind of try to be Talmid Chacham, in yeshiva, to ask, but wait, what if and this and this? Try to kind of split the hair, as they say. To ask questions to generate extreme cases and to ask so in that cases how the Neos know how to interpret how to act. But you should understand that this is just true for normal for any kind of languages between sentient creatures. It's not natural language and symbolic language are like that. Yes, it allows flexibility and it allows development and adjustment according to context. But sometimes it's not. Interpretation is not mathematical. And sometimes many times there is communication between the people, the entity that sends the message and the entity that receives the message, and both so think that they understand, but they don't understand exactly the same. But so this can happen with symbolic language, but it also can happen with any kind of natural language. Sometimes people speak with each other and they think that they understood each other, but they didn't completely understand. they didn't understand the thing 100% the same. It's the same with the Neros. It's just the same. Of course, there is the major difference that this language is 100% visual, and most probably they also have other kind of languages that are not only visual. like phonetic, you know, or like writing system or mathematics. But I mean, I assume so. But I mean, I currently don't have like the the mental capacity or like you know, the time to get into it. It's too much. I mean, and it's like that for like more than a year. That I mean, I'm too much occupied with. I mean, I have so many things like on my mind, like with the research and you know, in my own life and you know, the persecution of the Israelis and so the symbolic language is more than enough. Like project, like you know, to without me, trying to think like maybe maybe they have like writing system and phonetic language and you know, and all sort of things like that, and mathematics, mathematical representation and things like that. Now, so you can ask what particles are moving when you create sculptures with clay or when you paint, and the answer is that it dries. It dries. Water particles are evaporating, and as long as they evaporate, I mean the painting is applicable. I mean, so that's why I mean for acrylic paintings, I mean the kind of it's much shorter. Like it's kind of like it maybe takes like a day or 2 or 3. I mean, and then it dries and like it's no longer in effect. But with oil, it takes much more. But it depends it highly depends on like what solvents you use. Like I mean, and like for this painting, I actually use two types of liquid, which is the brand name. Actually, I don't want to advertise too much, like, you know, because they don't pay me. But I mean, I use 2 types of liquid. This is quite common. I mean, in like you know, among like people that are painting with oil. And I also use the linseed oil. Linseed oil is actually, I mean, kind of like a retarder, which makes it like a little, like drying a little less, little slower. And liquid is quicker, but not an extreme one. Like I mean, medium, like quickener of drying. You can use turpentine. You can use many things. Anyway, it will take some time for it to dry, and as long as it dry, like I mean, it's in the drying process, it's kind of like it's in effect. So, I mean, you can ask regarding the bicycle mechanism. You can ask. I mean, regarding the atom, the radioactive atoms. Okay, or it's clear that I mean, they worked on it during the 80s, and they just, I mean, until it was done, and there was no more. I mean, they still left the option of synthetic radioactive elements like to exist on Earth, and we will speak about it in the next chapter, because radioactive elements certainly exist in Earth since the 1980s. I mean, not long after this happened in the 1980s. So we'll speak about it. I mean, hopefully very shortly in the next chapter. But I mean, yes, they depleted all of the natural like radioactive elements. But I mean, but regarding the bicycle mechanism, you can ask. But even before you painted it, presumably the bicycle mechanism was in effect. Maybe it was different, but there was some kind of bicycle mechanism that was in effect. So maybe it's because of like another painting that you painted. So I would say yes. No. I mean, yes, I painted other. Like it's not the first time that I paint such thing, but other paintings that show this stuff are not visible. Like I mean, they are rolled in the closet. And if the symbol is not visible and specifically visible by me, it's not in effect. And this is something that the Israelis understood since I was born. This is a major issue in, I would say, even Israeli culture, but I mean, it's kept as a huge secret, mostly for me. But at some point I understood that. Like I mean, at some point it became clear to me that for them, for the Israelis, specifically for the Israeli intelligence, it's very important that things will be visible or not visible to me. Like not just for like intelligence purposes, so I will not know something, but because it's like a voodoo, like something magical that and I had no idea what's going on, but it was evident to me. Now I understand, of course, much better, but it was one of like the peculiarities of my life. That I understood that all sorts of like powerful entities in Israel, they care. For some weird reason, why should they care? Like if something is visible to me or not visible to me? But this is, in general, this is the answer, because if it's visible to me, it's in effect, and if not, it's not in effect. So, and I mean, if it doesn't, I don't need to actually watch it like all the time, but it should be like, potentially visible to me. So I mean, like in a place where I can see it, like not inside. I mean, in the darkness, not in like inside the closet. I mean, the easiest stuff like to stop, like to stop like the symbols like from being in effect is just to block all light. Now it should be said that even if all light is blocked, it doesn't mean that the neurons they do not do anything, because they do not like they are not like kind of robots that just sit like stand still until they have like new commands. They are life forms. They are sentient life forms. They are doing their own thing. Like in the planet Venus, as I've already mentioned, they build a huge they build and maintain huge constructions since long before humans were knew how to build mud houses. Homo sapiens didn't know how to build mud houses, and they were already huge, maintaining and constructing huge platforms in the planet Venus, and nobody's telling them to do so. No human or Venusian or whatever. Tell them to do so. They don't. And this was proven by many evidence. I have so many microscopic slides when I don't tell them to do anything, and they create all sorts of amazing stuff. I have so many videos with all sorts of I call it landscaping projects, but of course in the microscopic level. But landscaping project when they build all sorts of stuff like that. Look decorative or or things that look like bit like gardens or all sorts of stuff. So they it's not that if they do not get orders, they just wait until it's not like that, and it's also not that if you give them order, all of them will run to do it. It's there are always the dissidents, they feel lazy or they want to do other things. It sounds funny, but it's like that. This is a civilization. They have their own and they have their own agenda, and so usually it's it's part of their agenda to cooperate with the person that that they choose like me in our time, but in previous lifetime, my predecessors, it's in their agenda to cooperate with this guy, but they do not need him in order to exist. They are ancient civilization, and they're doing all sorts of stuff. They are doing they have their own businesses, to do whatever they do, wherever they are. But if you block light from the symbols that you created, they do not. It's like a command to them to not follow these symbols. Even if they know it's there. Maybe they don't. In order to know that the symbol is physically there, most probably they don't really need photons, light. Most probably just a signifier, a symbolic signifier, because they have. First of all, mostly you place neurons on top of the symbols, in this case, the whole painting is full of neurons, for all sorts of reasons. It's an old background, and this was actually proven, in many. I uploaded 13 distinct videos to this channel with paintings, both acrylic and color, that I have from, all over the last 20 months, and you can see that everything that I painted is all covered with neurons, and all sorts of life forms, millions of them. And this is an old background; it's not a new one. And in the case of the new background, I artificially, I manually, I spread neojuice over it, from the crucible. So if it's all inside the closet, it's not in effect. So you can ask, okay, so if this painting is not in effect, for example, if it completely dries, then we have two options. What will be the bicycle mechanism that will be in effect? So the answer is that if there is another construction that is also, accessible but far away from this one, and also it's not like in the closet. Like I mean, light can like I mean, it's open to light. Then this construction will like be will be I mean, then the neurons will regress to the regress like not like this. They'll step back like to the previous like bicycle configuration, which is if another construction is in the light and is still I mean relevant, which means that it's still I mean something in the construction still need to move. But such a thing should actually exist. Or in other words, when this dries and the neurons will revert, then they will revert to I mean to another bicycle like kind of like I mean configuration. The question of what is the configuration, and also where is actually the construction, like symbolic construction, because it means that my predecessor, not necessarily the one from the 1980s, it could be like a predecessor from the 1940s, or maybe a predecessor from before that. But that a predecessor of mine should have created like a symbolic construction that I mean signifies I mean the a configuration of the bicycle mechanism, and this is perhaps like the difficult condition here. It should be something that is still moving. So the question is, what is that? So let's keep it like as an open question. I know the answer, but maybe let's keep it as a riddle for the audiences to submit their answers. And I mean, among, as I said many times, among all the people that will like send the editorial board like the correct answer, we will like make like a lottery, and I mean the one that will actually will be chosen. I mean, randomly chosen, will receive a not expensive prize from the management of this channel, this YouTube channel. It probably be something very very cheap, but it's the how do you say, the intention is what counts. So let's stop with it, and I mean, of course, you are all welcome to submit your answers to the riddle, like what's the symbolic construction that a predecessor of mine created. So I mean, where is it stored, and it should be something that's still moving. Like I mean, now it should be said that you can rejuvenate presumably when this almost dries completely, or even after it dries, I draw rejuvenate it with more paint, and then it will still be it will keep burning, keep being applicable in a way that's what I just did today, because I don't know if the acrylic was completely dry, but it was certainly almost completely dry. Acrylic dries very very quickly, so it was almost completely dry, and then I rejuvenated with the oil layer. So yes, I mean you can presumably if you live enough, you can theoretically rejuvenate it all the time when it's and so it will be indefinitely moving so the question is what actually is this the thing that the construction that is still in effect, the symbolic construction that is still that is still visible, potentially visible, it's in the light, and it contains some kind of element that's still moving, and it's a fallback to the configuration of the bicycle mechanism that we see here in this painting.